Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yasodhanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Radha Vallabha Sri Radhe Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Sri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Prala Narsimha Dev Prala Narsimha Dev Prala Narsimha Dev Prala Narsimha Dev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Mr. Pada Paramasa Stotra Sri Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki. ISKCON Founder Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Mr. Pada Paramasa Stotra Sri Śrīmad Bhaktivedanta Swasti Goswami Maharaj ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki. नामाचार्य सुधाव की प्रेम से को जय कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद शिवदास शिव सादि गौर भक्तवृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की गंगा माया की जमुना माया की तुलसी देव की भक्ति देव की सामय भक्तवृंद की all good assembled devotees, all good assembled devotees, all good assembled devotees, all good Sri Guru Sri Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna. So today, by blessings of Radha Vallabha and all the assembled devotees here, I have a privilege and honor of speaking or reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, one of the verse. We have a identified verse already, so I can't choose whatever verse I want. I have to go with what has been given. So we will go with that is the Uttama Sloka, very nice verse today we got. So we will read the verse in Sanskrit, those who are new. This is the system that is followed here. So then we will read the translation by each word by word, and then full translation of that verse in English, and then of course purport by Srila Prabhupada. Then we will expand on whatever Prabhupada has already written in our today's context and how we can possibly apply those things in our own life and make our life successful just like Ajay Mala did. So the verse. So let us start with invoking auspicious. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 2. The title of Chapter 2 is Ajamila delivered by the Vishnu Dutas. And verse for today is 44. So first we'll read word by word and then we'll read full line by line. Sakam Vihayasya Vipro Mahapurusha Kinkareha Hemam Vimanam aruhya yayau yatra sriya patiha sakam vihayasya vipro sakam vihayasya vipro mahapurusha kinkareha mahapurusha kinkareha hemam vimanam aruhya hemam vimanam aruhya yayau tatra shreyapati yayau tatra shreyapati sakam vihayasya vipro mahapurusha kinkareha hemam vimanam aruhya yayau yatra shriyapati sakam vihayasya vipro mahapurusha kinkareha hemam vimanam aruhya yayau yatra shreyapati. Vaishnavas. Sakam vihayasya vipro mahapurusha kinkareha hemam vimanam aruhya yayau yatra shreyapati mahapurusha kinkareha hemam vimanam aruhya Vaishnavis. Mahapurusha kinkareha hemam vimanam aruhya yayau yatra shreyapati So we'll now read word by word translation. Sakam, along. Vihayasya, by the path in the sky, or the airways. Viparaha, the Brahmana, Ajamil. Mahapurusha Kinkareha, with the order carriers of Lord Vishnu. Hemam, made up of gold. Vimanam, an aeroplane. Aruhya, boarding. Yayau, went. Yatra, where. Srehapati, Lord Vishnu, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Accompanied by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu, Ajamila boarded an aeroplane made up of gold. Passing through the airways, he went directly to the abode of Lord Vishnu, the husband of the goddess of fortune. Purport. For many years, material scientists have tried to go to the moon, but they still are unable to go there. However, the spiritual aeroplanes from the spiritual planets can take one back to home, back to Godhead in a second. The speed of such a spiritual plane can only be imagined. Spirit is finer than the mind, and everyone has experience of how swiftly the mind travels from one place to another. Therefore, one can imagine the swiftness of the spiritual form by comparing it to the speed of the mind. In less than even a moment, a perfect devotee can return home, back to Godhead immediately after giving up his material body. Om Ajnana Trimindasya Jnananjala Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasme Sri Guruve Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavanda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Usually we just chant once, Hare Krishna, but today we had to chant 3 times because getting a ticket to aeroplane is very difficult these days. And what to speak of getting a ticket for Vaikuntha planet. So you can see in today's verse, so we had to look at in the context of what happened in the life of Ajamil, especially at last breath of life, and how he was given an opportunity or a lease again. So we are saying given a lease again. So why he was given a lease? Of course we have body. So this body is like a rented apartment. When you rent an apartment, so they obviously give you a lease for a month or a year. Here in Australia you have to sign a lease for at least 1 year, otherwise they are not interested in renting a house to you. Similarly, we are also leased this body. This body is not ours. It is a, you can say a gift, or you can say it is rented. And this is a gift from Lord, or we have rented from Lord. And of course, we have signed a lease. Some have signed just few seconds. The moment they are born, they have to vacate the body. And some have signed for a year, some have signed for 50 years, some have signed for 60 years. Some lucky ones who are following, very sattvic lifestyle, they somehow managed to live for 100 years. And some have even lived for 104 or 5 years. At least I know one person with whom I had a direct darshan. So he lived it for 102 years. So some of the Swamis, and they live perfectly and they are very healthy also, even at 102 years. And they can stand up, they can walk, they do everything their own without anybody's assistance. Of course, they are taking assistance from the Lord, but at least physically from others they can manage themselves. So this is the body essentially is rented for a certain period. The moment that renting period is over, you have to vacate. So some honorable persons, So without fighting with the landlord, they will vacate. Others, they fight. Here, sometimes they take it to court. During last 2 years, if you are a landlord and you want to vacate a tenant who is not paying a rent, so you cannot. Government passed a legislation, a bill saying that you cannot, even if they are not paying a rent. But of course, now they changed, so you can, so if they are not paying rent. But however, sometime, what do landlord? Maybe landlord will not cooperate with you, doesn't maintain things, maybe electricity not working, gas not working, so troublesome. That time you are forced to vacate yourself. You say, okay, no problem, this body is... And that is what is happening sometime here in Australia and some of the countries also. They say they can forcibly give you some injection or something and you have to leave the body. Correct? Body is okay, but you are suffering from so many troubles. So this house is not good. You don't want to vacate, but somehow somebody will forcefully vacate you also. So we had similar situation with Ajamil. So Ajamil, the narration of his life, both in previous chapter and this chapter. So beautifully we saw conversation between Yamadhutas and Vishnudutas, and obviously he heard the case being made by both of them, why they belong to them. Then finally, Vishnudutas are successful in convincing Yamadhuta that, so this person has chanted Sriman Narayan name, Ante Kale Namana Smriti, at the last breath of life, so therefore, so he belongs to us. Then finally, with great difficulty, Yamadhutas accepted it and went back to their master abode, Yamaloka. Of course, soon, in few days, he will start hearing so their complaint to Yamaraj, and Yamarujas telling them, so anyone who is chanting holy name of Narayana, holy name of Lord Krishna, holy name of Lord Sri Ram, Narasimhadev, please do not go even near them. So you will hear all that more later. But for time being, you can see, so they were defeated in argument, and then finally they went back. Then, so the moment they went back, then of course, Ajamil, to some extent, came back to senses, and he realized, am I dreaming or I am hearing this real? So he realized that he is real, and then about to pay obeisance and see them and appreciate them, then they disappeared. So Vishnudutas went back to their own master abode. So then Jamil, of course, realized that in spite of leading such a horrible life, the way he led his life, he is very nicely summarized in next verse. So just in one verse, so it is so beautifully summarized how we led, and he himself is saying that. So let us take just read that one for the benefit of everyone. Of course, Prabhupada didn't give purport here because we already heard a lot of discussion on it. So this is sort of summary. Ajamil was a Brahmin who, because of bad association, had given up all Brahminical culture and religious principles. So those of you who have not heard how the Ajamil life was, so this is a nice summary. So he was a born Brahmin. Of course, he had Vedic knowledge. He got Vedic from his father, so like a Vedic scholar. But because of bad association he was given up that Brahminical culture. So in Brahminical culture, obviously, so your lifestyle will be different, unlike materialist culture or one who is engaged in only sense gratification. And he not only given up that culture of Brahminical, but also given up religious principles. So these are so important. These religious principles or religion, why do people follow? So one of the goal of following religious principles is to progress in spirituality. So of course there are various types of religious principles, but goal is to progress in spirituality, or some of them may follow these religious principles, so just to attract better material facility. So that is what we call karma kanda. So there are some following Vedic methods. You can perform certain yajnas and certain special pujas to make your business successful, or maybe change a job to get a better position, higher salary, higher position, higher prestige, or you perform great puja to wife of Lord Shiva, Parvati Devi, to attract a beautiful wife or a beautiful husband. So there are some material facilities and material attraction around you. So those are karma kandas can also be performed. But of course, some actually go further, not just performing these religious activities, but they also, as a result, they, like we know, 4 purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So dharma, religion. So by following religious principles, and who has given the religious principle? This is also important. If it is given by these laws of religious principles, if it is given by someone authority, someone supreme, someone infallible, someone achyuta, like Lord Sri Krishna. So if they are given by the Lord, so if we follow them, then certainly we are fulfilling dharma, going behind. So you get artha. Artha means obviously, so you can use that money to build a better facility. You can buy a mansion house. So then of course you can possibly attract a beautiful wife, right? So if you are a richest person, that happens, even if they are a special role model. Even sometime you have seen people who are at 70, because they are rich, so they attracted a something like 25-year girl and got married. Then of course that will go for few years, then finally they will die. We know the rest of the story. Anyway, that's artha. Then of course with artha you enjoy the facilities, that is kama. So enjoys of various types, enjoyed. Then moksha. So some of them, so why do they shift to that dharma, artha, kama? Most of them stop there. But some fortunate souls actually move towards moksha path. So that is because they had undergone severe sufferings. So much of suffering. Sometimes they might have got by mercy of Lord Sri Krishna himself. So Krishna of course says that on those who have a special mercy, I give them all the suffering. Whether they are devotees or non-devotees. Devotee who are non-devotees, some of them is great suffering. They might try to take either anything else I can do. Perhaps I can take shelter of Lord. So, so maybe I can mitigate the suffering. So, and devotees, of course, they are on right path. Maybe sometime you are deviating, so Krishna has to bring back. So maybe he can give the suffering also. So then we come to our senses, come back to the right path again. So those sufferings can actually bring one to path of moksha. In moksha also we know moksha generally. At least in general, culture in India, some of the Vedic scholars or yogis, some of them think of merging into Supreme Lord or becoming a Lord themselves. And of course, those who want to go further, so they want to become servant of Supreme Lord. So anyway, moksha, so is inspiration coming from suffering. And of course, some lucky ones, they come across a great, Mahatma, devotee. So then by their blessing and by their following their instruction, they might just become without suffering. So their all paths are there. Anyway, so this Ajamil was following Brahmin culture and perfect in religious principles in the beginning. So becoming most fallen. So he became most fallen at later part of time. He stole, drank, and performed other abominable acts. Obviously, if you give up this Brahmin culture, religious principles, so in his case, in case of Ajamil, he happened to, even though he went to collect, flowers and other things from forest for performing puja, but there he happened to see a low-grade prostitute and some other hugging each other in pretty much naked. Then his mind got attracted there. So then he thought, oh, this is a great way of enjoying. So instead of performing austerity, so he went to that path, and obviously following, maintaining that lifestyle, from Brahminical lifestyle to this extreme sinful lifestyle requires artha. So how do you get artha? One, you inherit artha from your parents. And that is what happened to Ajamil. But he spent that money very quickly. So ran out of that money. So then he took a different job, robbery, then drinking and perform other things. So to keep that prostitute, he kept, that's what he says, he even kept a prostitute. Thus he was destined to be carried away to the hell by the order carriers of Yamaraj. So because of that, so his destination was clearly hellish planets. So first they get to Yamaraj, then Yamaraj will decide which hellish planet to send. In actually, the precursor to this next, this Canto 6 was that Canto 5, where we had discussion about 28 hellish planets and destination of different persons based on their activity here, who will achieve those planets. And that is when Parikshas Maharaj became very compassionate to all living entities and for us. Then he asked Sukadeva Goswami, please tell me, what do we do about this? So we don't want to go there. Seems like we're suffering. And this was the destination was pretty much meant for Ajamil, but he managed to avoid that by simply meditating on the glimpse of chanting of holy name at last breath. He was able to escape that. So that was the verse. So that summarizes what happened. So this next one. So let's come back. So because he is able to remember Lord Narayana, so which he actually called his own son Narayana, out of frightness, he became very fearful of this Yamadutas. He said Narayana, called Narayana his son. So then immediately Vishnu Dasas came, and then so as we discussed, so with Vishnu Dasas managed to convince Yamadutas that this person belonged to us, you please go back. So they went back, and now Ajamil came to his senses. Then of course, so he realized that now he has given a lease, that is extension of his rent, his body. The house that he rented, this is a body, so he was extended by a short period. So therefore, what did he do? One option, let's enjoy there in that house again. So still prostitute is there. Other one, he thought he left everybody and went to stay to where? Haridwar. So Brahmin, of course, Brahmins are very perfect in knowledge. So I think his knowledge came at right time. He was able to remember, and he thought, so what is next? If you go to Haridwar, from there, when you get out, you go to Hariloka only, Dwara, Haridwar. So he went to Haridwar, and in Haridwar, obviously, he took shelter of Vishnu's temple. So there he performed his bhakti, and like yesterday and yesterday and all we have heard a lot about. So his devotional service. So he engaged himself fully in performing devotional service. So obviously, devotional service means Sravanam, hearing glories of Lord and his devotees, just like we all are hearing and reading from Srila Prabhupada's book, from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So he heard about those hearing some Kirtan in Vishnu temple. What happens? Apart from hearing, there will also be Kirtan. Then he also chanted himself holy name. So he engaged perfectly. And then within a short period of time, so he happens to, again, those same 4 personalities, beautiful personalities came, they just appeared in front of him. So what do I do then? Obviously he paid obeisance. That's what we heard yesterday. So paid obeisance and prepared himself to go to Vaikuntha Loka. He just gave up his body. He says, rent, I don't want to rent this body anymore. The lease cancelled. Or I decided to, tear it up, and now I want to go back, take shelter of Vishnu Dutas. Vishnu Dutas came with gold aeroplane. That's what it says here today. So they came with the golden aeroplane made up of gold. So joined them, accompanied by the order carriers of Lord Vishnu. Ajamila boarded an aeroplane made up of gold. Correct? So which means Vishnu Dusas have come back from their abode, where they live in Vaikuntha Lokas, then came in their own vehicle. Correct? So they came in their own vehicle, and of course they had one empty seat also. Correct? So 4 Vishnu Dusas came. You can see here on the cover. Yeah, 4 they have come. And this is at least must be 5-seater aeroplane. Isn't it? So I wish he had 6 or more seats. Maybe he would have joined. But they came with only 5-seater. So they left us here. So here Ajamil has given up his material body and purified himself completely. So purified means he purified his mind. Body is there, you can't take this body. You have to give it up. So he purified mind. Then fully engage his mind in thoughts of Lord Vishnu. He's living in Vishnu temple. And of course, Prabhupada was saying that, similarly, so our Hare Krishna movement, our this International Society for Krishna Consciousness has set up, established this temple all over the world. And Prabhupada is saying that everybody please come and live in temple. And not many are fortunate to live in temple. There are some few great devotees like Manmohan Prabhu and few others like Dvija, so twice born. So they only have opportunity to live here, but not everyone. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So you can live nearby the temple. A few months ago, I hear from Sukadeva Prabhu, incarnation of Sukadeva Goswami. So he said that those who are living within 2 kilometer diameter of this temple where Shaligram Shilas, that is Vishnu's Murtis, are worshipped, they will also be delivered. Is that correct, Prabhu? Okay, so my memory is little bit working. So I don't have sharp memory, but I can remember in the context. Okay, we know that in Kali Yuga, the first canto clearly says that in this Kali Yuga, the people are misguided, short-lived, then quarrelsome, their memory is very little. That is why even for one verse, one word, I have to refer to the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. If it was Satya Yuga, I think I don't need this book. I would have just spoken without, because I already read yesterday, so I was remembering. But because my memory is short, and this is already told in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so I must accept, and it is true also, by experience I can say. Correct? So our memory is short, but sometime in context we can remember. So therefore, most of you, I guess, remembering within 2 kilometer, this radius or diameter. So if you are, then you all go to Vaikuntha Loka. So that is assured by Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, assured by Sukadeva Prabhu also. So therefore we can at least take our local authority instruction, accept it, then be confident. This is also important. So be confident that we can go back. But of course don't take it that just for granted. Engage in Kirtana. And so right now everybody is engaged in Kirtan. Some are just hearing attentively. And of course their mind, I don't know where they are in mind, but physically they are here. And others, Kirtana also means engaging in some services. For example, making garden is also Kirtan. I think yesterday Anvita Prabhu said that Kirtan doesn't mean only doing Kirtan and jumping. Correct? Kirtan also means engaged in services, including making garland. And in fact, even double. So they are like a double engine. They are not only making garden, but they are also engaged their ear in hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, hopefully. So therefore, they are twice benefited. So if you want to have a double benefit, please shift from left to right and help them to make a garland. Correct? What will happen to the garland that you make? So it will stay, it goes, and Lord Radha Vallabha accepted. So such a great honor service that one can perform the best service on earth. We do all the services. Now who are the beneficiaries? Correct? So suppose if some devotees like our Balavan Srinivasan, so he may be working for bank like NAB. So who are the beneficiaries? All those people who have some money in that NAB. Then what do they do with the money? Use it for sense gratification. Few of those use it for their own some spiritual activities, but most of them use. So there is not much great accomplishment there. But anyway, you get some Lakshmi. So you work for home, work for Lakshmi. Then you Lakshmi for engage in services. So that is what I see. Srinivas Balavan Prabhu's daughter is also doing. So he is assisting another Mataji in making garland. And wife is doing cleaning utensils, all the paraphernalia needed for performing puja. So that's the best form of using the time and energy, and then the Lakshmi engage in devotional service. So they were able to do that. So that is how we can engage ourselves. So in devotional activities, and which is Kirtan. That's what Ajamal did. And because of that, even though short period of time, and he's able to perform perfectly and purify his mind, and he reached that pure state. Obviously, then as a result, so this Vishnu Dosa didn't wait for any more. So they didn't wait for him to leave this physical body and again call Lord Narayana name. They themselves came, no problem. So you already called earlier, and we just extended your rent, your body, by short period. Now you can give up. He said, no problem. So he very happily gave up that body. No need to cry. Correct? Usually when people are leaving a body, people cry. You know that. Right? They cry and make a lot of fuss also sometimes. That this fellow didn't write my name in the will. He's leaving. Correct? Can we do something about it? But anyway, this is how it happens. But here, Ajamil, fortunately, he was in temple. So when you are leaving temple, you don't have a material bondage. Correct? When you are at outside or other places with wife, children, grandchildren, and many other relatives and others, then you have a bondage. Giving up can be so not that difficult. Can be difficult. So here, in this case, here no problem. So Vishnu Dusas came and actually he wanted to pay them obeisance nicely and appreciate them previously, but that time they escaped. So they escaped, maybe try to create, this this feeling of appreciation, or even he want to love, he want to express to them, to Supreme Lord. So they created separation. So therefore they created his desire and more. So he started performing. Then finally he got an opportunity to again see them. So at that time he gave up his body, material body, and assumed spiritual body. So which means, so if you want to go to spiritual world, so we cannot go with this body. So we need to assume spiritual body. So for everything there is a process. If you want to convert a iron into gold, there is a process. So there is a process, chemical process you can follow. You can change this iron into gold also. So similarly here, through his process, that process was kirtan, performing devotional services at Lord Vishnu temple in Haridwar. So purified himself and perfected his life. And so when Vishnu Dusas came, ready to give up this body and assume spiritual body. That's what happened until yesterday. And today, okay, now he has got a spiritual body. So he boarded this aeroplane, accompanied by right people. Correct? So if you have got a pilot who is not a Vishnu Duta, where will he take you? Correct? Even if the aeroplane came from Vaikuntha Loka, they can hijack that aeroplane and take you to Yamaloka also. Correct? In this case, you need to make sure that pilot is the right person, with the right frame of mind, and right thoughts, right intention, and from right place. So here we have pilots, then other air hostesses, and only pilot is not necessary. You get to become hungry sometime on the way. Correct? It talks about airways. So we started passing through. It's not. So what is the distance from Haridwar to Vaikuntha Loka? Correct? Just from here to home, 1 kilometer. I have to run to reach here by 5 minutes. So in this case, going from Haridwar to Vaikuntha Loka, so he passes through the airways. So beautifully, what are those airways that you are passing through? You can peek from window, you want to see. And then of course that again you need to take shelter of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So the previous cantos, we heard about these 28 celestial planets. If you want to go down, correct? In this universe, we have a lower planetary system, upper planetary system. Then of course we are sort of in the middle, in this earthly planet. So if you are going toward abode of Yamaraj, then obviously you go down, lower planetary system, then you can see what is happening in each other place. So maybe, that is not that good sight to see. Maybe you close your eyes. But if you want to go up, pass through airways, and you will see all of those. So soon we will take a look at one of the narration from journey of one of the devotee in Bhaktivedanta. So how he went all the way to Vaikuntha Loka, but he has gone through all these pages. But here he went straight to this airways, and then of course he went direct to the abode of Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu is the Shreyapati. Shreya. Okay, we know Shreya devotee here. Shreyapati. Shreya? Okay, Shreyapati. Actually, I didn't know what Shreya meaning is. Today I come to know. thanks to Prabhupada's translation, Shreyapati. So, husband of goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi. So he went there, stayed. So now passing through airways. So this is very, very important. Good to know. But of course, we also have to be careful if you're passing through airways and we get attracted and then we say, oh, why don't we stop there for a few days and transit? So let's have some transit time. That's what you do. If you're going to Goloka, Vrindavan in India, sometime we also take transit in different places. Then you can get lost in transit also. So have to be careful. So goal has to be clear. So today we will look at that airways. So on the airways and how you can reach that place. So from that perspective, I thought it is good to discuss about spacemen. Of course, we know that like Narada Dev, he can go from one planet to other planet, what to speak within material universe, but also to spiritual world, go, Vaikuntha Loka and come back. So he can do that. So he's able, of course, some other yogis can also do it. So through their mystic yoga, they are able to go from one planet to other planet. You probably heard about the story of Durvasa Muni. So when he was chased by Sudarshan Chakra, so he started running from wherever he is to Shivaloka. From there he ran to Brahmaloka. He went to then Vishnu Loka. So through his mystic power, you can do that. Or if you are lucky, you get like Jamil opportunity. So Vishnu Dut has come along with the aeroplane to take you. So here Prabhupada is actually emphasizing that of course these days material scientists are also trying to create aeroplane and go to moon. So this was something Prabhupada written during the 60s and 70s. So Prabhupada thinks they didn't make it to the moon. Anyway, these days we hear like Chandrayana. Even if it's not successful, another Chandrayana 2, not successful, Chandrayana 3. So these missions are going on, Chandrayana mission. So even in India also we heard about Chandrayana 1. They sent a rover and there it seemed it got stuck in somewhere in a stone, not able to move anywhere. The purpose of that rover was to take a photographs and send it here, and we all can be very happy and put it on Facebook and feel great that here is my Bharat Mata rover went to Chandrayana and took a photo and praise and glorify yourself and see how great I am. I am from such India and born there. So this is how we identify. Anyway, the Chandrayana. So Chandrayana, so not really successful even now also. Correct? If it was successful, I am sure many of us would have gone to Chandrayana and evaded this coronavirus. Why we have to suffer here with mask and all that? And of course, every now and then tantrum will come, or sometime you get a written notice. You are not following our instruction. This notice is given. I don't know how many of you got. Anybody has got a notice? No one. Very, very fortunate. Yes, written, that too not simple notice, in writing. Yeah, written notice. Yeah, so I somehow managed to evade. But I also got written notice. The good news was that within 3 days of notice, because I was given 3 days notice, that if you don't wear in 3 days, you'll be expelled from the temple services. Then fortunately, government has changed the policy. No more masks. Then I became very confident that somebody is working for, doing to take care of me. All right, so this is a problem. So we would have all gone to that moon planet, correct? So of course, right now, current intermediate solutions are what we call, here Prabhupada saying that they are making an attempt, but now there are some attempts what they call, space station. So within just in earthly orbit only, so build one station. So you can, spend some few millions dollars and they will take you to their space station and drink some, what is that called, some intoxication there. Because you get tired, going there. You know that even if you take this aeroplane from here to Los Angeles or here to Vrindavan, anywhere, within that 14 hours of journey, we are fully squeezed. All the vital energy is almost squeezed, then again you have to recover back. So they give you some, drink to drink and hopefully you rejuvenate again, come back. So that is happening already. But you have to spend a lot of money. Possibly all, whatever earning that we made throughout life, if you spend, you can go to that lower orbit of this earth and come back and become bankrupt. Okay, so that is the solution that is given. Then here, Vishnu Dosa's aeroplane. Now, so these, our normal standard aeroplanes, they go at the speed of around 900 to 1000 kilometers per hour. And we can go from here to house in 1 kilometer, let's say 4 minutes by running. So our speed is perhaps like 200 meters per minute. Isn't it? Then aeroplanes, cars go by 60, 70, 80, 100 kilometer maximum, 120 maybe. Then if you go behind 120, you will be caught and license will be cancelled and possibly put in jail also. So that is not possible here, 200 with our car. So then you can go in aeroplane at 1000 kilometer per hour, or you can take a supersonic aeroplane that will go at 5000 kilometer per hour. So it is from point A to point B. So here is very important. And then here in this case, of course, aeroplane, our standard aeroplane is normal or just 1000 kilometer per hour. Then here, Prabhupada is talking about the aeroplane that Vishnu Dasa has brought. Within a moment, he is able to, this Samajaman is able to go from Haridwar to Vaikuntha Loka within a moment. And Prabhupada is comparing it to mind speed. Speed of mind. Just you can see, although I am here, I can now imagine myself in a second in front of Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan temple. Correct? You can be there. Or you can go to Madan Mohan temple on the bank of Yamuna river. Or you can, in a moment, you can go to Radha Madhav temple, Chandrodaya, Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir. So you are there. You can see the big Chandrodaya Mandir in the process of finishing. Hopefully soon it will open. Or you can go to Jagannath Puri in a moment. And you can see how the big Jagannath is worshipped. In spite of those pandas blocking you, you somehow try to peek through somebody and see Jagannath glimpse. So you don't have that problem here in Melbourne. You can just to your content, just turn left and you can see. But there you have to really fight. Or you bribe a panda, he will take you to near Jagannath. Bribe little bit more, he will allow you to touch Jagannath. Bribe little more, you can hug Jagannath. Correct? Sometimes they don't ask you to give money. First they will ask you to hug. The moment you hug, finish, they will catch you. They will not leave until you pay some substantial money. Hug Jagannath. You must appreciate by giving them. So anyway, so that's what happens. So the speed at which our mind travels, you can imagine, you can see, you can't even fathom, you can't understand how fast it's going. So similarly here, this aeroplane speed from point A to point B is able to go in a moment. So, so that was made possible because he has taken the spiritual body and you can travel that point. With our body, if you travel, even if you make an aeroplane that will fly at 10,000 kilometers per hour, our body will disintegrate. That's why the people who went to Moon mission, Apollo mission, all those missions, they were trained and trained and trained, subject to this and put all sorts of things, then try to go there and some people have died on the way, mission failed or all that happened. So this body is not ready. So therefore, with spiritual body, and such an aeroplane can go and he is able to reach straight and landed in abode of Lord Vishnu. You don't land directly in front of Lord Narayana. There is also airport there. You have to go through airport. So now we will see all those airports and airways, how, for example, Gopakumar. Gopakumar study heard about? So Gopakumar. So this is in Bhagavatamrita. So this is the book compiled or written by Sanatana Goswami. So in this book you have a beautiful narration of journey of Gopakumar from Vrindavan to Goloka Vrindavan. But in between he has went to so many places, came back. So it is very nice to hear that one, and that way we get glimpse of airways. So let us say and of course we all have decided to go back to home. And importance of this also stressed by Prabhupada by starting this magazine called Back to Godhead. Because we all want to read magazine, what is happening today, what is the today's fashion. So similarly, you can see what is happening today in spiritual world or even in material world, in spiritual activities. So we can read Back to Godhead magazine. So Back to Godhead magazine, so read what is happening there. So here, this Gopakumar was born and brought up in Govardhan. So perhaps his house was around that Govardhan hill. So those who are brought up in Govardhan area, so essentially that means he is born in a family of Vaishya. So those who look after cow and do perform some business. So there, of course, if you are born in a Vaishya family, you have so many cows in home, what do? So you look after the cows. So this Gopakumar and his friends, so they were taking cows this regularly to Govardhan hill, just like Lord Krishna. Krishna Balaram and his friends, and when they were manifested, appeared in Vrindavan, they were also doing the same thing. Similarly, this Gopakumar also doing. So he was regularly, happily enjoying tending cows, taking them and taking them to green area and feeding, then playing around, going on. And so there, regularly they come across one person who was behaving like a madman. So, what does madman do? Sometimes they are intoxicated, they are laughing. Or sometimes they are crying. Or sometimes they are rolling on the ground and falling into gutter. Correct? So here in Melbourne we don't have gutter. But once you fall into some open hole, finished. No way to take out. But whereas in Indian gutter, small, so you can find somebody will see and take you out. So so this is how that person was behaving, and these people were always surprised. But whenever they see this Gopakumar and his friends, so he was very affectionate. So both started liking each other. Obviously, when this Gopakumar is liking him also, sometimes they bring their butter or a milk from home, and they also share with him. So this life was going on. And so one day, this Gopakumar, was from that Govardhan, so he happened to go towards Yamuna river. And there he happened to see the same madman. And at that time, Gopakumar was alone. He was not with all his friends, he was just alone. So there this madman, he told him, I am going to give you very spiritual or wealthy mantra. Why don't you take a bath in Yamuna river and come? So he bathed in Yamuna river, then came down, so paid obeisance to him. So this madman is actually very highly realized spiritual personality. So he gave him a what we call Gopala Mantra. So what is that mantra, anybody knows? So this is called Dasa-Akshara Gopala Mantra. Dasa-Akshara. Dasa means 10 for your benefit. Dasa-Akshara. Akshara means letter. Like you have written there Hare Krishna. How many letters are in Hare Krishna? H-A-R-A, Hare Krishna. K-R-I-S-H-N-A. Okay? So, but here he was given this Dasa-Akshara Gopala Mantra. That is called Gopala Mantra. And we actually chanted as part of our Jai Radha Madhava invocation, that mantra, part of it. So Dasa-Akshara mantra, so that is called Gopala Mantra. So instead of creating secrecy, of course he was told this is a secret mantra, very precious mantra, not for announcing on YouTube or announcing on this mic and for everybody. That spiritual matter told, this is secret. Of course, other acharyas later. So they said, these mantras, we don't need to keep secret. Let's tell it to everybody. Even if they hear, most of them don't remember. And even if they remember, they may not chant. Some of them are maybe very fortunate at chanting. So that is why now in Kali Yuga, we have to announce and announce and announce. Still, only few people take it. But with those yugas, if you announce, then possibly everybody will take. And there are many pastimes of, for example, Ramanujacharya. He was also given a secret mantra. Guru said, only for you. You are not going to announce. But if you do that, straight you will go to hellish planet. In this life only. But Ramanuja, out of mercy, he thought, why should I keep this mantra with me? Let me announce it to everybody. So he went upstairs, building and top building. Then from there, took attention of everybody. All the village came and announced Om Namo Narayana Nama. Correct? He announced, and then of course he was just tied. But we know that he said, okay, I am ready to go to hellish planet. One Ramanuja can go to hellish planet. Because of that, here thousands of people will go to Vaikuntha Loka, no problem. So that is how very compassionate devotees are. Even if they are told, if it is an important one, they will share. And that is what our Hare Krishna movement is doing, is sharing this mantra, secret mantra, that will take you all the way from Melbourne to Vaikuntha Loka in a moment. So that's the mantra is, and here his Guru has given him that Gopala Mantra. So Gopala Mantra is Gopijana Vallabhaya Swaha. Gopijana Vallabha, we saw, right? In Jai Radha Madhava song. Gopijana Vallabha. So you can say, Gopijana Vallabhaya Swaha. If you repeat every day, Gopijana Vallabhaya Swaha, what will happen? And that is what we will see. Okay, so now, this Gopakumar has got the Diksha, he got the mantra. Just like our first initiation, we get Diksha and we are given spiritual name. So that at least we'll remember our name at last breath of our life. Right? So name that is given to us is a spiritual name, a Lord name. So if you remember your own name, it is likely that you go back to Vaikuntha Loka. So it is very good. So Diksha I got. So next, because he was on that Yamuna river, he started chanting. As he started chanting this Gopala Mantra, he lost interest in all these worldly activities. Then, he gave up all those and chanting. Then he started walking on that Yamuna river bank. Just kept walking and chanting, stop wherever he can, nighttime sleep and move on. And suddenly he came to Prayag. You see, from Vrindavan to Prayag, so you have to go by walk for several days. So that Prayag is basically confluence of Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati. So that Prayag. So there it is Prayag. Obviously in Prayag, Kumbh Mela happens. When Kumbh Mela happens, lots of Brahmins, everybody come and they bring their own Sila, Shaligram Sila and worship. So there he happened to see one Brahmin who was performing, very devotedly worship of Shaligram Sila. So this Gopakumar is a, covered boy, just got that only Gopala Mantra and simple mantra, where these Brahmins will chant so many long mantra. Correct? So their mantra is not like Om Gopijana Vallabha Swaha. This is just, that's it. This was his mantra, whereas this Brahmin was chanting, like Vishnu Sahasranama and many other complex mantra. And this is very hard to understand to all these covered boys. So he was very, very impressed. He asked him, whom are you performing this puja? He says, I am performing puja or worship of Supreme Person of Godhead. Who is the Supreme Person of Godhead? He says, Krishna. Then puja over, what does this Brahmin do? He opens a small box and take this Shaligam Sila, put into the box and close. Then Gopakumar got surprised. He's saying, you see, the Supreme Person of Godhead, you were saying, you have now just put into a small box. Suppose if you become hungry or thirsty, how is he going to call? Even if you call, nobody can hear. Then Brahmin said, I am a poor Brahmin. I don't have opulent palace or a temple to perform and put it in a nice place. So that's why the small box is there, I just put it. If you are someone very keen on such a opulent devotional worship and want to live there, so why don't you go to this other side, south side, and there is one king who is performing opulent worship. So he goes to that place. So there he see a opulent worship of Lord Vishnu. So this Gopakumar goes to that place and start, so there he saw very opulent worship. Very happy. So the worship is going on. Then of course at that king place, this king was a very devotee. So therefore, apart from taking care of his citizens, but he also put good effort and allocated good wealth to make sure that this temple worship is happening very nicely. So one day this king died. When king died, obviously they will immediately find a successor. Usually, when there is a king, successor is generally a son of that king. And this king didn't have one son. Because he just engaged in so much of service that he even forget that he has to get married. Right? He is not worried about who is my successor, who is my next successor. That's what we always worry about. Oh, if I have so much of wealth, I have to have a son who will take care of my property. Similarly, if you are a political person, you have to have someone who will take over your position. So the successor was not there. So then these ministers, obviously you have to have a king. So those ministers were good. So unlike today, minister will say, okay, this fellow died, no problem, I am the next prime minister. Correct? Whether they appoint or not, they will go and sit down and take over. But those days, they didn't do that. They said, oh, he doesn't have a son. Let us now find out a personality who has those qualities of king. Then they happened to search party. They started searching everywhere. Then finally, of course, they found this Gopakumar. So they looked his sign, and all looks like a king's sign only. They look at his palm, they look at his feet, and look like he has good, really quality. So they made him a king. So Gopakumar, of course, Gopakumar, just because he became a king, he didn't forget. So he engaged in his activity. Then he looked after reasonably well, and then engaged more and more in services. But somehow he is feeling that, oh, I am too much engaged in these duties. Why do I want to chant more? So then, of course, that king in that temple, so they make Mahaprasada. So, the kingdom has supported it, and Mahaprasada is made opulent. So, who is Mahaprasada? But the citizens who come to temple, they didn't give that much respect to Mahaprasada. Some of them took it, some of them take it and throw it away. Some of them say, oh, this was made morning, I don't want to eat in the afternoon. Correct? We do also sometime here. Oh, this khichdi made by Balawan in the morning. The lunchtime, Rajbhog, why take that one? If Rajbhog is over, then we go to Balawan Prasada. So anyway, this is what happens, and this is real. Okay? So this is what is happening, and he was also a bit upset that what is this, these are. But meanwhile, he heard about, Nilachala Dham, where people take this Mahaprasada. Mahaprasada, even if it is 10-day old, 20-day old, they are very happy. They don't think it is stale. Because the Lord's Mahaprasada and Lord are same. How can you just discard and throw it away? Just because it is made, kachori made 2 days ago, or samosa made 1 day ago. But there the people are very honorably accepting. So he thought, okay, I want to go to Jagannath Puri. So he went to Jagannath Puri, and there started taking darshan of Lord Jagannath and Baladev, Subhadra, and there he was impressed by the respect they give it to Prasada of Lord Jagannath. So he was very, very impressed, and things seems going fine. And he's in Jagannath Puri, and he's born in Vrindavan. So one day, so this was going on, but one day he started missing Vrindavan. So that night, Lord Jagannath appeared in dream. He told him, you can actually go back to your birthplace, Vrindavan. So this Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan is not different. And also I am here as a Jagannath. So actually I am not different from Lord Krishna there. You can go back. So then again he went back straight from Puri back to Vrindavan, back to his birthplace. So continued with his, chanting and then worshipping. So, but he felt that his worshipping is not that opulent. And meanwhile, he heard from others that Indra is performing very opulent worship of Lord. He developed the desire. With the development of desire, immediately he was transported to heavenly planet from earthly planet. Correct? If you see in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, so it gives you description of lower planets and higher planets. So from earthly planet, you go to various places. Then you also come across this planet of all the demons. They are also living very opulently. Then above you will see a heavenly planet of Indra, Indra's Loka. So he went straight to Indraloka, and there, of course, he saw how the Indra was performing worship and very opulently. Then obviously in Indraloka, not only this worship is happening, but also there are a lot of sensual activities also. So there are Apsaras are there. Urvasi, Ramba. There are many, the beautiful Apsaras also there. So if you go to that Indraloka sometime, you say, oh, let me get married to one of these Apsara and enjoy the life. So that's what some of the people do. And obviously those people will come back again. But in this case, he was engaged and he was very, very impressed. And obviously Indra, even though he is performing this worship, sometime or often he gets attracted to somebody or he offends his Guru Brahaspati. And we heard about many stories about how Indra offended Brahaspati. So once he offended one of the Brahmana and he got fearful and ran away. When he ran away, Indra post is empty. So now we have to appoint a new Indra. Correct? We need to find a suitable personality and make him Indra. Sit down, occupy the position of Indra. So then this Brahaspati is the Guru there and he is the one who will decide, not these politicians. Correct? So there Indraloka, now other demigods or other people, they don't vote and say, oh, here is a person. But there they have a Guru, Brahaspati. Brahaspati looked at this Gopkumar, oh, this is a personality. So they made him Indra, occupy Indra. Okay? So therefore, if you chant Gopijana Vallabha Swaha, desire of becoming Indra, you can. Okay? So Indra, he became Indra. So there, once you become Indra, obviously a lot of facility available, he performed, engaged in services. And then Indraloka, sometime personalities from higher planets also come once in a while, just like here. So we have personalities, great personalities coming from Vrindavan, other holy places, and coming here. And we get attracted to them. We said, oh, where is he from? We asked Sukadeva Prabhu, where is this Maharaj from? Oh, Maharaj is living in, let's say, in Badrika Ashrama. Then we say, oh, why don't I also go to Badrika Ashrama, for example? Correct? So somebody will introduce the Maharaj with him, you can go, become his assistant and go back. So similarly, there he saw some of the experts and all these great devotees and great personalities, they came from Maharloka. Then he says, okay, I am now tired of this Indra position. So looks like Indra is also coming back, that original Indra, he want to also, and I am getting tired. So he said, okay, he went to this Maharloka. So there, of course, in Maharloka, what happens? All these yogis perform, great sacrifice. Then they are performing such a purity that Lord appearing as Yogeshwara. And then he had darshan of Yogeshwara in person. So then, of course, he heard about their glorification of even higher. From Maharloka, you go up, you find there Satyaloka, Brahmaloka, where Lord Brahma is. So he developed the desire, then immediately he reached Brahmaloka. So in Brahmaloka, obviously you have Brahmaji, then everybody is even more great, pure devotees. So they are engaged in so much of worship, things are going fine. Then obviously who all are the residents of that Brahmaloka? So there he also found his original guru from Vrindavan, that madman. So this person was also, his guru in Vrindavan, although he was looking like a madman, but he was a great yogi and great devotee. So he can also go to Brahmaloka, any loka just by will. So there he found him. So this guru told him, what are you doing in Brahmaloka? Just please go back to Vrindavan. There you do this, the mantra, the Gopala Mantra I gave you. Just chant, continue there. More effective. Correct? This place and some place is very important. If you are in the right place, even by little effort, just like in Australia, you work for 1 hour. How much you get? $50. Then you translate it to Indian rupees, 55, 54 or 50. Let's make it easy. 50 into 50. How much, Prabhu? How many rupees? 2,500? Anyway, then you will think, 2,500. Okay, if I do the same 1 hour in India, they will only pay me 25 rupees. Correct? So similarly, the effect of the mantra is very strong on Earth planet. Go back. So spiritual master told him. So don't break your head too much with this jnana and all this knowledge. You just go back there, and he again came back. From again back to here, Goloka Vrindavan. So now we came to Goloka Vrindavan, things are going fine. he is chanting this Gopala Mantra, enjoying. Obviously, you have to be in blissful state. That's why Prabhupada said, chant and be happy. He didn't say chant and cry. Of course, you can cry too. Cry out of bliss. Correct? And don't assume that crying is easy. No. Very difficult. Even if you artificially try to cry, very difficult. Okay, at least for me. Very difficult. So he is having great time. And one day, what happened? This is all going on. Again, just in a spaceship, he again transported to cross this Brahmaloka. He started now crossing that material covering of this universe. So he escaped, the velocity with which he went, he escaped even Brahmaloka also. So there, of course, he got causal earth. So there he saw Bhumi Devi performing puja of Varadev. Usually Varadev, right? One of these 10 Dashavatara we see Varadev. We have Varadev here also, by the way, next to Lord Ramachandra. Okay, so those who have not seen, so just for information, we have Radha Vallabha Uttava Murtis, next is Ramachandra, and next is Varadev. Okay, so Bhumi Devi is worshipping Varadev, so just like we worship here. So he was, of course, very impressed by Bhumi Devi. Then Bhumi Devi also blessed. Then he said, all right, now I'll go to the next one. So then he has to cross that causal earth too. He went to this next layer. Next there is what we call Pani layer, water layer. Correct? Pani. So there also worship going on. So there, of course, devotees worshipping Lord Matsya, Meena. Okay, so worship is going on. So then from there he went to fire layer. There worship is going on of Lord. Then air layer. We have all these layers, right? Once we cross this material world, then we have to go to spiritual world, and there is in between. So he is now in between phase. So air layer, then of course there is also mind layer. We have mind, false ego, intelligence, and our body and senses and soul, of course, and super soul. That's what we got. And now we are going, there is a mind layer. In mind layer, what is happening? So devotees are worshipping Anuruddha. So if you want to cross mind layer, please worship Anuruddha, or take Anuruddha Prabhu's blessing to be able to go to at least mind layer. So that mind layer. And then, of course, mind layer is not the one. There is a false ego. False ego is even more powerful than this mind. So false ego. So in false ego layer, there, although devotees are worshipping Lord Sankarsana. So worship is going on there. And of course, there also he got blessing from those devotees. So then he went to, material, whatever we call material, last layer. And there also something was going on. So there they were performing puja of Mohini. Who is this Mohini? Exactly the form that Lord Shiva has saw. Mohini. That worship is going on. Yes. So Mohini, and then of course from there he got blessing. Then he went to Brahmajyoti. In Brahmajyoti he saw spiritual sparks, and sometimes he sees super soul, but not much engagement of seva of Lord. So not impressed. He thought, okay, let me go a little up, and then he went to Vaikuntha Loka. Then he went to Vaikuntha Loka, not straight to the Lord Narayana, he went to the gate. He goes to the gate, and there he see personality, this Chaturbhuja. Just like Vaikuntha. He thought this is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He just went and fell at their feet. They started running. They said, no, we are just servants. We are not Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he thought, Shankha, Chakra, Pada, Gada, all four weapons and exactly looking like a Supreme Lord. That's what in Vaikuntha Loka they look like a Supreme Lord. So there they said, no, we are not. Correct? In material world, if somebody comes, obeys you, oh, are you the president of temple? Yes, I am. You will say. A new person, it is okay. Correct? He doesn't know that who is the president. But there, they said, no, we are not president. We are not Lord of here. So, but one person took him to Lord Narayana. So there he has shown him. Here is Lord Narayana. And then, of course, there he also saw Lord, Goddess Lakshmi. Then Shreya. Shreya Pati, both Pati and Shreya. So there they also affectionately took care of him, and he was very happy. Things are going on, and they became part of devotees. And devotees telling him, oh, now you're still in a only two-armed form. Why don't you take a form like us? You just wish, we'll get it. Then, but whereas this person mindset was, he was more attached to covered boy. He was looking for covered boy with peacock feather. That's what he started developing. So Lord Narayana, sensed his situation. So he said, no problem. And they said, okay, we promote you. So he went to Ayodhya Loka. So there in Ayodhya Loka, he saw Lord Ramachandra and Sita Devi, and he also very happy. They also took care of him very nicely, very lovingly. So very happy. Then they also blessed him, okay, you can go up. Then he went to Dwaraka. So there Dwarakadhish and Rukmini. So he was also very, very happy. But he was still again looking for Gopal, looking for a covered boy with peacock feather and bluish, and they all go to Govardhan and enjoy. So he was looking for basically Goloka Vrindavan. And there at the Dwaraka, he come across Narada Muni. Of course, Narada can go anywhere. He can come here. Every evening at 7 p.m., he comes to Radha Vallabha temple at Melbourne. That's what we pray. We sing. Correct? Shiva Sukha Narada. Shiva, Sukadev and Narada, they came to witness Arati of Gauranga Prabhu, and their throat is choked with love. Fortunately, that doesn't happen. If that happens, then our kirtan has to be stopped. But we are not at that level. Anyway, so from there came, and then Narada Muni said, going even from Dwaraka to Golaka Vrindavan, not possible. With your mantra, you go back again to Vrindavan. So now he is again back to Vrindavan. So in Vrindavan he started, he already achieved all of that and just needed to see Krishna only. So he started in ecstasy. One day he happened to again, Krishna appeared. He saw Krishna, then tried to catch him. So he was about to catch Krishna. Suppose Krishna will play, right? So a game. So about to catch, but Krishna again disappeared. He managed to catch. In that process, he fainted and fell down. Then when he fell down at Yamuna river bank, what happens? Sometimes you fall down in a strategic place. What happens? Because that slope is very down, then you just roll and fall into Yamuna river. So he fell into Yamuna river. So he hardly came to senses. He fell into Yamuna river water. So then suddenly spaceship took him to Goloka Vrindavan in a moment. So he is now in Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna is not there immediately. He can't see there. He only saw some Matajis, picking up flower, making garland. He asked them, where is Krishna? They are not even responding. So there was one old man. He says, no problem, don't wait. So Krishna went with cows with his friends and he will come back soon. He waited and then Krishna came. The moment Krishna came, and he also got excited and ran and go towards Krishna. And Krishna also equally excited. He also came running and gave me a hug. And both Gopakumar and Krishna had a hug. In that ecstasy, both of them, became unconscious and fell down. And all these Matajis and all this, what is this? This person must be representative of this Kamsa. Krishna became unconscious. Then meanwhile, Balaram came. Balaram recognized Gopakumar. So he, wakes him up. He tells him, now just say Krishna in Radha in the ear of Krishna, he will wake up. So Krishna wake up, and then Krishna said, okay friends, today we had good fun, everybody please go home. Now I am taking this Gopakumar to my house. So there, obviously, so they had good time, and that's very linked. Krishna says, what are you doing, where did you go? I am really waiting for you. So he expresses so much of emotion. So that means Krishna is also waiting for us. So now, here we have a mantra, we have Hare Krishna mantra. Of course, Prabhupada has, or all our Shastras for Kali Yuga, we are given Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. If you have a short memory, come to temple. No need to break your head too much. You can just watch here and read Hare Krishna mantra. Correct? So read Marakinta, or just listen to what others are singing, just repeat, or just listen, continue like this. Then you will also become eligible to go back to Goloka Vrindavan. Okay, so this power of holy name, what took Ajamil, Lord Narayana name, to Vaikuntha Loka. So this Hare Krishna mantra, which is even more superior for Kali Yuga, for us, we are not that experts or a great scholar to chant great mantras very detailed. So we simplified mantra, Hare Krishna mantra. So please chant, and you will all go back to Goloka Vrindavan. the place there is no anxiety, no need to worry about working, no need to worry about going to this Middle Park Primary School or Albert Park High School or Melbourne University. No need of all that. They don't look at your education. So just spend time with Krishna, go along with him, take some of your own cows and go enjoy. Every day is a great thing happening. And you don't have to worry about, don't need to worry. Fortunately, this camera has rested for 2 weeks. And yesterday only our Sukadeva Prabhu asked me, why this is not working? I just tried and it worked. So hopefully it worked. No problem. So anyway, so Goloka Vrindavan, so that's the best thing you can do in this earthly planet. So take shelter of holy name, make your life successful. And also you do chanting, and then maybe since I come to temple often, because of you I also here, then hopefully I will also qualify to go back with all of you. Hare Krishna. For any questions, answer, please talk to Sukadeva Goswami so that it is written here. Hare Krishna Prabhu, you want to say some comment? Are you ready to go to Goloka Vrindavan? Hare Bol.